We put the country's toughest protections for our Second Amendment rights into our state constitution. We have fought for and gotten statewide school choice done. We have privatized our charity hospitals. But there is another side of this. When you do things like that, here's what the other side will say about me. They'll say, the left will say, well, with Governor Jindal in office, there's never enough money for state government. We're always cutting the state budget. And when they say that, you know what I say? I say, absolutely right. Guilty as charged. Folks, we got a choice to make. Are we going to measure prosperity in the government sector or in the real world? And it's an either-or question. Hillary Clinton, she measures prosperity in the government sector. 7 out of 10 boom counties, greater D.C. area. You and I, we know we've got to measure prosperity in the real world. That's not sustainable what they're doing. Government doesn't create wealth. We want to measure prosperity in the real world. It's going to take a doer, not a talker. So when you hear Republicans say, hey, we're going to balance the budget or repeal Obamacare, or we're going to get rid of Common Core, or we're going to fight ISIS, we want somebody who's actually going to do those things, not just talk about those things. We've had Republicans before say, give us the majority. We'll get rid of amnesty. We'll get rid of Obamacare. We'll shrink the size of the budget. And it didn't happen. You know, I don't know about you, but I think it's time to send somebody to D.C. who will do and say the things you're not supposed to be able to do and say. I think it's time to send somebody, look, if you want somebody that wants to just manage the decline of this once great country and a mediocrity, go vote for somebody else, because that's not why I'm running. I'm running to go there to take on the establishment, and sometimes in both parties. The reality is, I don't know about you, I was so disappointed and shocked with the Supreme Court's rulings a couple of weeks ago. So in 1 week, they start their week by saying, we're going to ignore the meaning of plain words. That's what Scalia said when they rewrote the law to save Obamacare. Then at the end of the week, according to Chief Justice Roberts, they ignored the Constitution and try to redefine marriage. So just to recap, in 1 week, they can't be bothered to pick up a dictionary or a Constitution. I happen to be in Iowa. I just announced I was running for president, was here in Iowa, and some reporters caught up with me right when the court made their second ruling. They said, Governor, what do you think? I got a habit of just saying what I think, by the way. So if you ask me, don't ask unless you really want to hear it. Well, they asked, this was my first reaction. I said, look, if they can't be bothered to read a dictionary or a Constitution, maybe it's time to save a couple of bucks and just get rid of the court altogether. I mean, what's the point of having a court if all they're going to do is follow a public opinion poll? Now, Hillary Clinton and some folks didn't like that, so I've decided that, I'll back off a little bit. Let's just get rid of 2/3 of the court. There are 3 of those justices I wouldn't mind keeping. They're just But here's the serious point. So they rule against us on Obamacare and marriage, and there are Republicans in D.C. that are happy they ruled the way they did. They view marriage as a distraction. They don't want to do the hard work to repeal and replace all of Obamacare. Only in D.C. would be losing be a good thing. It is amazing, isn't it? When you look at the marriage ruling, look, my Christian faith teaches me marriage is between a man and a woman. And no earthly court can change that. And unlike President Obama and Secretary Clinton, my views aren't evolving with the polls. And I support our 10th Amendment the court took away, and to continue to define marriage as being between a man and a woman. But let's be very clear about what's now going on. The left isn't content with taking away our 10th Amendment rights. They are now going after our First Amendment rights. What is very clear is they're going after our religious freedom rights. They're trying to silence businesses, individuals, pastors, and churches, and others. Hillary Clinton told us what they were about. Remember several weeks ago, she said those of us that are pro-life need to have our religious views changed. Well, I've got news for you. My religious views aren't between me and Hillary Clinton. My religious views are between me and God Almighty, and I'm not changing them just because she doesn't like them or the New York Times doesn't like them. But you know what's even bigger than this? Now they're trying to take God out of the public square. So I did an executive order in Louisiana protecting the rights of businesses and individuals that have a traditional view of marriage, saying the state cannot discriminate against them in any way. The ACLU sued us. Here's the amazing thing. They were for religious liberty before they were against it. They used Louisiana's Religious Freedom Restoration Act to argue on behalf of religious minorities in my state. And I'm glad they did. But now that Christian business owners and individuals are the ones being discriminated against and persecuted, now we can see their hypocrisy. Now they flip-flop to the other side. Look, when Hillary Clinton says you've got religious freedom, all she means is for a couple of hours a week, you can say what you want in your church. That's not religious liberty. Religious freedom means being able to live our lives 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, according to our beliefs, our conscience. The Founding Fathers knew this fight. The Founding Fathers knew this fight was coming. They put it in the First Amendment to the Constitution on purpose. I don't want them to take God out of the public square. It would be in America our parents wouldn't recognize, our Founding Fathers wouldn't recognize. It's not America I want our children to recognize. I'll say this slowly so even Hillary Clinton can understand it. The United States of America did not create religious liberty. Religious liberty created the United States of America. I've got a novel idea for 2016. Let's try something new. Let's try something different. What if, as a Republican Party, we actually ran on our own ideas? What if we embraced and endorsed our own principles? What do I mean by that? Well, Jeb Bush says we've got to be willing to lose the primary in order to win the general election. I couldn't disagree with that more. Let me translate that into plain English. When the D.C. establishment says stuff like that, this is what they're really saying. They're saying you conservatives hide your beliefs. Pretend to be something else so the left and the media will like you. Let me tell you something. That never works. And if we try that again, we will lose again. And you know what? We will deserve to lose again. This country doesn't need a second liberal party. They don't need us to be cheaper Democrats. It is time for us to give them a real alternative. Folks, this election is not about the Republican Party. It's not about Iowa. It's not even about Louisiana. It is about the United States of America. And so I'll tell you this. As your commander-in-chief, I'll get 4 things done. 1, I will repeal and replace all of Obamacare. I'm the only one. Secondly, we're going to stop talking about it. We're not going to do a comprehensive plan. We're not going to grant amnesty, but we are going to secure the border. The only good a 1,000-page bill is maybe we can stack it up against the border wall. That'd be the only thing we can do. The third thing we've got to do. We've got to shrink the size of our federal government so we can grow the large. And fourth and finally, we've got to stop hollowing out our military. We need to invest in our defense so our allies trust us, our enemies fear us. We need to stand with Israel, stop Iran. I'll close with this. I'm asking people to believe again. I'm asking you to join a cause even more than I'm asking you to join our campaign. When I was young, my dad taught me that Americans could do anything. I believed him then, and I believe him now. And I think you believe that too. And I think you want to believe in America again. I think these last 7 years have been tough. But I think you do believe in your heart of hearts that our best days are ahead of us, not behind us. That America can dominate this century. President Reagan described this, reminded us, when we needed to be reminded, we were a shining city on a hill. But he also warned us it wasn't inevitable. He said every generation has to choose for itself to renew those principles of freedom. Previous generations have spent great blood and treasure to give us the opportunity to grow up in the greatest country in the history of the world. It is now our time to choose. Are we going to mortgage our children's future? Will we be the first generation that leaves fewer opportunities than those that we inherited from our parents? Or will we fight to take our country back? Churchill said this about America and Americans. He said, you can count on the American people to do the right thing after they've exhausted every alternative. I don't know about tell you that after 7 years under President Obama, I feel like we've exhausted every alternative. It is not optional that we. I went to churches, I went to schools, I went to farms, I went to factories, I stood in front of people and I said, this is what we're going to have to do, and I'm doing that today. Look, the easy way to run for office is to tell you, don't worry, everything's fine. We're not going to have to cut any spending, we're not going to have to lay off any federal employees.